Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I want to talk a little bit about Kulstar, which is the most damaging secondary in the entire game if you take into account everything that happens when you pull the trigger. Now the weapon isn't the hardest thing to get. You can simply get the blueprint from the market and you will have to invest 70,000 credits in total. You will also have to sacrifice the Kraken, oh no. You will then have to put in 2 Tellurium, 4,800 Cryotic and 3,600 Plastids. The Kulstar is a Mastery Rank 4 weapon that has 5% crit chance, 2 times crit multiplier, 10% status chance, 3 rounds in the magazine, 2-second reload and fire rate of 2. And it does actually more than 375 blast damage with each shot because of how it works. When you pull the trigger, a rocket/torpedo will fly out that will do 175 blast damage on impact and then explode for additional 200 blast damage in an area of effect. But each torpedo/rocket will also release 3 small bomblets that will fall to the ground, each doing 75 blast damage, so 225 in total. And yes, the weapon does do self-damage, and if you have a setup like I do, it's gonna do quite a lot of self-damage as well. Now, since I do have a Riven for the Kulstar, I had to use a 6 Forma build to fit everything on, and what I did is I changed the D the weapon comes with into a V. I then added 3 more Vs and 2 dashes. And I'm using just a full-on damage build, no status or crit. I'm running Hornet Strike for damage, Battle Diffusion for multi-shot, Lethal Torrent for fire rate and multi-shot, then Auger Pact for additional damage on top of Hornet Strike, then I have Convulsion and Pathogen Rounds for corrosive damage, Primed Heated Charge for a ton of heat damage, and Kulstar Visifa, which is my Riven that adds almost 300% extra damage, a little bit over 110% heat damage, but it kills the crit chance completely, which is not a big deal because the Kulstar only has 5%, so this bumps it down to 0.7 and it's not really noticeable. So the weapon does a grand total of 20,500 heat damage, 7,500 blast damage, and 13,300 corrosive damage with the impact and explosion. But that's without the little bomblets that are released by the explosion, so if you hit the enemy with 1 or more of those, it's way more than that. Now the damage is unsurprisingly pretty crazy, and you can easily take it into all kinds of sorties if you can survive them, of course, because, well, the weapon is very dangerous. I'm scared to use this even on my Inaros. The only units that can survive a couple of shots from this thing are very high level units that have alloy armor, so napalms and bombards. Everything else just melts. And the only reason why bombards and napalms and units like that survive a couple of shots from this is because we're using corrosive blast and heat, which is not great versus alloy armor, but if you swap it over to radiation, they're gonna melt as well. The infested just get kabloated sky high, so they're a complete joke even at sortie level, and even though we are not using the perfect combos when it comes to the Corpus, they don't deal with this weapon very well either, which is not that surprising. I mean, the weapon does like 42,000 damage with the initial impact and explosion before the bomblets start flying around doing even more damage. Now, one thing that I'm kind of sad about is that the weapon was a lot more fun when I was leveling it, especially since I was leveling it in fissure missions and I was getting kind of lucky with the infinite ammo corruption, which on this weapon is absolutely stupendous. The reason why it was more fun when I was leveling it is because I didn't have all the mods equipped, so it wasn't doing as much damage as it does now, because right now the only frame that can survive this is Inaros. Every other frame just gets deleted if it's anywhere near the rockets when they go off. I mean, even my Inaros that has like stupid amounts of health and armor can only take 2 shots before going down. So the weapon is kind of barely usable at best at this point. It just does way too much damage. So I ended up in pretty much the same situation that I did with the Tsar. I made the build so strong the weapon is barely usable, which is kind of funny because the Kulstar is pretty much just a pocket Tsar. So if you want to build this weapon, please don't add as much damage as I did. Replace the Riven with a utility mod, something like a reload mod or something, and maybe take out 1 more damage mod as well, so you can actually survive at least 1 shot from the weapon. I really hate self-damage in this game. I absolutely despise it, and I know there'll be people saying, well, just be careful and don't get hit, but that just doesn't work with this weapon. Yeah, the bomblets fly all over the place, and with as much damage as it does, sooner or later you will get hit and you will die. It's just inevitable, even if you're being really careful. It's a shame, because just like the Tsar, the weapon is really fun, and I'm pretty sure I would have used it if there wasn't like a 20% chance I'm gonna die every time I pull the trigger. It's actually even worse on the Kulstar because you can at least switch over to Grape Shot on the Tsar. I honestly think they either need to get rid of self-damage or significantly reduce the amount of self-damage these weapons do. I think I would be okay with self-damage if it took a couple of shots to take down a normal frame, but as it is right now, weapons like the Kulstar or the Tsar will just instantly disintegrate you if you're anywhere near the explosion. And I think a lot of people just don't use these weapons because of that. I mean, how often do you see the Tongor nowadays? I don't think I've seen anyone use the Tongor for like a month, maybe 2. And it really is a shame because these weapons are super fun to use. But anyway, I think I've been rambling for long enough, so that's it for the video. I thank you very much for watching, as always guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.